This is a 54 karat piece of Mexican fire opal that is supposedly high-grade material, but it's nearly completely covered with sand, so how do we know? Well, we don't, but I know the seller, and he said that the other half of this specimen was fantastic. But all we really see is sand, except for a tiny spot of red-orange at one end. But how do I know this isn't just some dried-out gummy worm with sand on it? Let's go to the grinder and find out. About 5 or 6 years ago, I decided to get myself some Mexican fire opal. I'd never worked with it before and I was curious. So where do you go when you want gems of any kind? No, not a pawn shop. You go to Tucson, to the annual Gem and Mineral Show, the largest gem and mineral show in the world. This 1100 carat specimen shows most of the important characteristics of Mexican fire opal. But what the heck is fire opal? Fire opal is any opal that has a background the color of fire, yellow to orange to red. It's that simple. It doesn't have to have the flashy colors that we all want in our opal, but remember, most of the world's gemstones have only one color. So does fire opal fit in with this group? I think so. So is Mexico the only place that fire opal is found? No. Any yellow to orange to red opal is fire opal, and it occurs in a number of places around the world. About 10 to 20% of Ethiopian opal is fire opal, and most of it has play of color too. And what about Australian fire opal? It's very nice stuff. It doesn't have play of color, but it doesn't need it. The color is beautiful, and most of it is nearly crystal clear. Perfect for a gemstone, don't you think? So how do I know that this spectacular 7-ounce specimen is Mexican fire opal? Why is it not Ethiopian? The way to tell with 99% certainty is the surrounding matrix, rhyolite. But only one type of rhyolite associated with fire opal is pink, and that's Mexican fire opal. Well, this is no gummy worm, that's for sure. It's opal, and the color is dark orange, characteristic of Mexican fire opal. And we're starting to see some fire in this opal. In other words, play of color. It's looking good, but I need to see more. Now, what am I going to do with this Australian fire opal? Nearly all Australian fire opal is faceted. Each facet is ground to precise measurements using complex equipment to make the facets reflect light in the proper way. At present, I do not facet gemstones, but maybe I can do something else with it. Now, if I don't expose the rest of this 54 karat opal, I won't have a kingstone. And we all want a kingstone, right? Right. Now, I thought that removing the rest of this sand or pink matrix would be really easy, but it was really much tougher than I thought. It seems like it was more difficult than the usual Australian or Ethiopian opal. Well, I must say, we're getting into some serious color here. got indentations, which are just sand pockets. I don't know how deep they go. They're much harder to evaluate than in Australian opal because the opal itself, the body, the base color is darker. It's red-orange. And the sand is pink and sort of blends with the background. But we can see this thing has color all the way down to at least here. And it's got it on the back. So I definitely have a kingstone here, but I need to make it look like a king. Finding good Mexican fire opal in Tucson was actually quite difficult, but the marginal stuff was everywhere, except maybe the restrooms. Maybe. These olive jars filled with chips were everywhere, and in most cases, I probably would have rather had olives. This stuff doesn't taste like an olive. It's kind of crunchy. Stop! Never ever buy opal that is being sold in containers of water, but it hides what you need to see even more than the color. Cracks. I know Australian opal experts who require opal to be dry for an entire week before they would even consider buying it. In my last video, I told you to store your Australian opal in water, and I mean it, but if you want to sell it, you may be delayed by a drying out period. Sort of like what happens when you get thrown in jail for being drunk and disorderly. Not me, of course. I mean, lips that touch liquor will never touch mine. My liquor. Now that was a common opal. Here's the rest of the jar, about 20% overall. It has play of color and it looks pretty nice. I'm going to give away some pieces of this stuff, but near the end of the video, I'll tell you how to get in on the giveaway. All opal forms in vacant spaces in rock. Water-rich in silica enters, and over a period of time, opal forms from the silica. I do not know why the rhyolite in the Mexican opal fields is harder than in other places where opal forms in volcanic rock. But you usually cannot just pluck balls of Mexican opal from the matrix. For this reason, much of the Mexican opal that is sold has a rim of matrix around it. This is called Cantera Opal. Cantera means quarry. It would be much more desirable to have opal without the matrix, but these are still pretty cool, and I'm going to give one of them away. I'll talk about this near the end of the video. Australian fire opal makes some of the best opal arrowheads that I've ever made. Beautiful transparency, a really nice point. That's what we knappers call them, points, not heads. At 31.69 carats, this Mexican fire opal cabochon is amazing. It has play of color and is therefore precious Mexican fire opal. And this is the largest cabochon of precious Mexican fire opal that I have ever seen. And now for the winners from last week. Hubert, the 4.79 carat opal goes to Mello Matthews. Iggy, the 1.28 carat opal goes to Mithril Arts and Jewelry. Shim, the 22.4 carat opal goes to I Eat Caribou. Spike, the 4.66 carat opal arrowhead goes to Aranto F. And Spike's Flakes, they go to Calvin D. Mann. This week I'll be giving away 14.1 carats of precious Mexican fire opal, 1 Cantera opal weighing 19.4 carats, and 1 arrowhead made of Australian fire opal. I've had trouble connecting to winners recently. You can find my email address in the description or at pulitzeropal.com. If you won a giveaway in the past and we didn't connect, send me an email. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.